What's up guys, Dylan here from Veteran Aquatics, and today we are going to talk about filters. What is the best kind of filtration? What kind of filtration do I use? And what kind of filtration should you use and why? We're also going to talk more about the giveaway that's coming up this Friday. As always, make sure you hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in a minute. Alright guys, welcome back. So first let's talk about the giveaway. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way. So I'm going to do it this Friday during the live stream with King and Queen Cichlids. So if you haven't checked out Scott's channel already, Scott McLaughlin of King and Queen Cichlids, he keeps a lot of American cichlids, a lot of Amphilophus and Parachromis, Jaguar cichlids, Dovi, stuff like that. He's been on kind of a break lately, but it looks like he's getting back into it. So Friday night we're going to do a live stream. Make sure you head over to Scott's channel and subscribe, because in order to win you're going to have to be subscribed to both channels. Now I am giving away $30 in plants from KJE Aquatics, and Scott is going to give away a King and Queen Cichlid t-shirt as part of that as well. So my subscribers that, were waiting for this plant giveaway, make sure you head on over to Scott's channel, hit the subscribe button there, and we're going to do the giveaway during a live stream Friday night. I don't have an exact time for you. I will post it in the community, that way you guys can see it. But the easiest way is just go over to Scott's channel, hit subscribe, and click the notification bell. That way you will see when the live stream is coming up. Alright, so that does it for the giveaway. Let's go ahead and talk about filters. So there's all kinds of different filters, right? You have internal and external canister filters, you have hang-on-the-back filters, you have sponge filters, matin filters, you have sumps, right? So there are all these different ways to filter your tank. Which one should you pick? Now before we go through my filtration, I want to talk about why you should pick what. So first, it's based off of your needs in that fish tank, or more specifically, the needs of your fish and the amount of filtration that they need in a given period of time. So for example, this 90-gallon behind me has a Marineland 400 on the back, a bio-wheel filter, and a sponge filter. And realistically, it should have another sponge filter because there's a lot of fish in that tank. But I use the hang-on-the-back filter for mechanical filtration. It's stuff full of filter floss, so that helps polish the water up, get all the extra debris and stuff out of the water. And then the biological filtration gets done by the sponge filter. Right, so beneficial bacteria grow in both, but since I use the hang-on-the-back filter primarily for mechanical filtration, anytime I change out that filter floss, most of the biological bacteria is taken out of the filter as well. I do have filter cartridges in there that I leave and rinse in tank water, so there is some beneficial bacteria in the filter, but a lot of it's being done just by that sponge, and that's why I say there needs to be another one. So those are the two types of filtration, right? Mechanical and biological. Mechanical is generally water polishing and removing debris from the water, whereas biological is what removes the nitrates and ammonia from your water. You need both in order to maintain clear water in a fish tank, as well as a clean and healthy environment for your fish. Now let's go ahead and we'll talk about the filters that I'm running in the fish room. Alright, so first up we have sponge filters. So the way I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about each type of filtration and why I think it's good and why I think it's bad. So sponge filters are great filters. They are cheap. You can run many of them inexpensively. Aquarium Co-op makes a great sponge filter. I also showed you guys how to make your own sponge filter for like $5. So I'll put the link to that video in the description down below. You can go check that out. They're super readily available. Like I said, inexpensive. You can build one for $5 or buy them for $12 to $30 depending on size. Overall, great filter, great thing to run in bulk. It does a good job of building up that beneficial bacteria to give you that biological filtration that you need. The coarse sponge, in my opinion, works better than the fine sponge and doesn't clog as often. Cons, it doesn't do a ton of mechanical filtration. Fortunately, the water in this is rather clean and clear, but it doesn't do a ton of mechanical filtration like something like a canister or a hang-on back would do. So you can end up with some particulate in the water, like it won't remove those fine particles. You could maybe end up with some leftover food or something like that sitting along the bottom. So those are things to bear in mind when deciding what kind of filter you want. This tank, actually I want to put a hang-on back on it because of how many Africans are in here now, but a nice marine land hang-on back would be a great addition to this and help keep that water polished now that it's got a bunch more fish in it. Alright, so we'll go back to the Angel tank and talk about pros and cons of the hang-on backs. So pro, super common. You can pay for these. I think I had a 25% off coupon. I think I paid like $50 for this marine land. But you can definitely pay a lot of money. I mean, they go from cheap to very expensive. So it's up to you what you buy. This is kind of a middle of the road one in my opinion. It actually looks like it needs to be cleaned again based on the particulate. It's got a lot of room for media in the back. Not all hang-on back filters are like that. The con is probably, like I said, the price. They're much more expensive. They require electricity to run, so you'll be using more electric if you run something like this versus one air pump and a sponge filter. You have to change the media out or the filter floss out every so often. So you can use like K1 media, you can use bio balls, stuff like that, and just put them down in the bottom and rinse them out every so often. And then you can just use filter floss to do both biological and mechanical filtration in the filter. But replacing that and cleaning it, I think much more often than a sponge filter is definitely something you have to bear in mind, because that is additional maintenance you're going to have to do. That said, you don't really do anything. It's kind of plug and play. You dump some water in it and it goes. Alright, so we'll talk about canisters next. So I have a Sun canister filter running on my 125 that's got the Oscar, the Jags, and the Mayan cichlid in it. I like canister filters for big tanks. They move a lot of water, and you can see, kind of by that, and it just flows all the way across. They do, like I said, they move a lot of water. It's got media trays on the inside, so 2 of them have filter floss, 1 of them has pot scrubbies. So it does both biological and mechanical filtration. This one actually has a UV sterilizer on it, so if I had a green algae problem, I could just click this button on over here, and now the UV sterilizer is on. Cons of these, so this particular one isn't overly expensive. You'll probably be able to pick one up around $50 to $70, but they can get really expensive. Like I know a Fluval FX series, especially the FX6, like you're paying like $350 sticker for that. Your best bet is to get a coupon, wait for a sale, something like that, and pick it up cheaper. Also, it requires electricity to run, so that's something to bear in mind. Sometimes, so there's a seal in between. This is the lid. These lift up, and this comes off. There's a seal in here, and if that seal goes bad and your canister is just sitting on the floor like mine is, you do run the risk of it flooding, because it's just going to keep sucking water and leaking water until you catch it. I'm in a garage, concrete floor, don't really care so much. But that is definitely something to look out for and consider if you think you're going to run an external canister filter. An internal canister filter works much the same, except it goes inside the tank. Right? You can see, so 2 125-gallon tanks, one's running a canister, and one is running 3 different sponge filters. Right, so it's not running yet because I set up the Aquarium Co-op sponge filter in favor of it, but that's a box filter. So a box filter works on a similar premise to a sponge filter in that it runs off of an air pump. The bubbles created by the air pump create a vacuum and sucks up particulate and keeps your water clean. I like the box filters actually a little better than sponge filters because you can see in the bottom I have carbon, on top of that is filter floss. I would normally switch the carbon out for like volcano rock or something like that. Something more porous, something that's going to hold on to a lot of beneficial bacteria, because then you're getting a good mix of mechanical and biological filtration. They're relatively cheap, but they are a little harder to find. You don't see them all the time. A lot of people are running sponges, canisters, or hang-on backs. But box filters are great, especially if you're breeding fish and have little babies. You don't want them to get sucked up in a hang-on back or in a canister. Something you can do to a hang-on back to prevent that, or I guess even a canister, is put an intake sponge on it. So get a chunk of sponge like that and put it over the intake tube to help keep fish from getting sucked up. But definitely for fry and fry grow outs, I'd prefer a sponge filter or a box filter over a canister or hang-on back. Alright guys, so you got to see the kind of filters that I have: sponge filters, hang-on backs, canisters, and a box filter. That is all that I run. There are also sumps, which are great. Sumps would be an additional tank, usually underneath. It would be drilled and filled with baffles. Water would flow through it and get filtered through the sump, and then flow back up into the tank. Sumps are amazing. They're probably the best type of filtration, but they take up a lot of room. You either have to build one or buy one, and if you buy one, they're not cheap, but they are phenomenal. Sump is probably the best type of filtration you can get in a fish tank, so if you were thinking about a sump and you have one, or you were looking to buy one, by all means, go get it. Not great filtration. A canister filter is also great filtration, a little more pricey. You run the risk of the seal going bad and then flooding your floor, but overall, another great filter. Hang-on backs can be cheap, can be pricey, work very well. The only problem that you'll commonly find with them is that the impellers jam, so you'll have to either pull it apart or it breaks, and then you'll have to get a replacement part or just buy a new filter. Sponge filters, box filters, great for fry, great for economic fish rooms like mine. So almost all of my tanks have sponge filters in them. They run off 2 air pumps. That's it. I don't have 65 billion little 2-port air pumps running. At that point, I got myself a bigger air pump, so most of the fish room runs off of air. And in bulk fish rooms, that's generally what you'll find. It's a sponge filter. So overall, I think for my application, the best type of filtration I could get that was economical and functional was sponge filters. If you're running 2 really beautiful 125 display tanks, maybe you want canisters, or maybe you want to put sumps under the tank and really have them nice. Maybe you're running 5 tanks and only the one in the living room is your show tank, so you've got a nice hang-on back on that one, and you're running internal canisters in the other ones, or whatever it is. At the end of the day, the best filtration is actually up to you and what the needs of your tank are. And so when you overstock, more filtration, always better. If you understock, you can get away with less, all right? But that kind of does it, guys. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's really up to you where you're comfortable spending money, what risks you are comfortable assuming, your skill level if you intend on building these things, and the stocking and size and location of your tank. I can tell you that if you go to PetSmart or Petco and you buy a 125 gallon setup with a stand, you have room for a canister, or you have room for a sump underneath it, so you can go ahead and hide those. You can get a great canister filter without spending too much money. Like I said, I love the Sun, and it's a relatively cheap canister filter compared to like a Fluval. And your tank will always be clean. You have to clean them about, it depends on the bio load of your tank. This one about every 2 months I clean. So I pull out, rinse everything off with tank water, put everything back in, prime it again, hook it back up, and it goes. So yeah, that's it. It's kind of up to you to make the determination yourself. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you guys have about it in the comments. If you're running something and you're thinking of switching to something else, by all means, go ahead and ask down below. Also down below, let me know what your favorite type of filtration is and why. Don't just tell me sponge filters, why is it sponge filters? Don't tell me canisters, why is it a canister? Right? We have all these methods of filtration available to us, and they're better and worse at different things, and they all perform a slightly different function. This is a really deep tank, so I had to have a really long intake tube on a hang-on back to really get down in the bottom, kind of suck everything up and push it back up to the top. So that's why I went specifically with this Marineland, because I wanted the really long intake tube, and because it was mid-range in terms of price. But that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know down below in the comments, like I said, what kind of filtration is your favorite and why. Make sure you go to King and Queen Cichlids channel. I'll put it right here, Scott McLaughlin, and subscribe to him, because we're going to be doing the plant giveaway on his channel on Friday. I don't know the exact time yet, so make sure you hit the notification bell on Scott's channel and on mine, so that way you don't miss it. Alright, and I will put out a community post later when I have an exact time from Scott, and we will get everything rocking and rolling. That's it for today, guys. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. Stay safe, and as always, I will see you next time.